Now, Josh, I understand you have some rich musical heritage in your family. Obviously yourself, your two sisters, a cousin, all musicians.
Yeah.
Just tell us where that all comes from.
I mean, it does. It goes way back. I think, the less musical side of the family, still musical, is my dad's Irish side. Big Irish family, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But I think it mainly, in my family, comes from my mum and my mum's side. My nana, she was an amazing musician, wrote a lot of music, a lot of worship music, being a Christian family. And my mum, obviously inheriting the genes, she's got a beautiful voice. And my whole childhood, I've got strong memories of trying to go to sleep, and my mum's there writing songs and playing the piano downstairs. And music's something which you can nurture, and I think it's something you also inherit. And my whole childhood, it was constant music, whether we were travelling somewhere or in the house. When our families would come and visit, there'd always be an instrument there, someone playing a piano, someone playing a guitar. And being a child of that, you just you want to feel part of the family, so you pick up an instrument. And my mum, as she writes a lot of music. She writes songs for Christmas, songs for church, and it's kind of just carried on through the family. And we love music because it's a form of escape, and it's a form of art. And it's almost a sort of a healing thing to have music. So we all picked it up, and my sister's doing very well in it, and my mum's doing really well in it too. So yeah.
So what's your earliest memory in terms of you playing an instrument, and what instrument was it?
Well, because I was on the sports side of things, me and my dad would go off and play football, but I think the earliest time I remember playing an instrument was probably when I was in reception. So I don't know how old that would be, like 5 or 6. And I'd go to a little guitar school after school. And to be honest, at that age, I didn't really care too much, but I could just naturally do little things with it. And then it wasn't until I probably was about 12, 13, secondary school, where I started to take a real interest in it for myself. And that's when YouTube sort of started to expand and blow up. And I could just go on YouTube and learn songs that way. I had a guitar teacher for about 3 months, but it didn't work because I'm, very sort of lively in the mind. So I had to teach myself, and I just sort of picked up the guitar and taught myself things through that. Eventually it just sort of led to having a little hobby of playing the guitar as it is now. So.
It's really funny actually, my little 12-year-old nephew's just got into music, and I bought him a ukulele for his birthday a couple of days ago, but he's talked me into getting one as well, and it's arriving today apparently. So, but I mean, is that a good way to learn? I mean, how did you learn to play the guitar?
Yeah, I mean, so all stringed instruments are very similar, and a ukulele is a really good one because there's only 4 strings, and you can learn really simple chords on it, and you can play a lot of songs. So similar with the guitar, I learned the basics through YouTube. You just learn basic chords, basic notes, basic patterns, and then pick songs you like. And I pick songs that I like, and then you just find a YouTube tutorial and be like, oh, how do you play this? And they'll teach you. It's not as hard as it seems, but it does take a lot of patience when you first start. And I'm surprised, I don't know how, with my lack of patience, that I got to where I was and been able to play. But I think, as I said, it's such a universal language, music, that it's something which spoke to me and really sort of, I feel like is a peaceful thing for me, and I felt like I had to learn that, and it made me feel more part of my family. Not that they don't make me feel that way, but yeah.
So just give us some examples of the music that you play. Is there any particular songs that you like playing?
I just like melodic songs, a song you can sing to, and then I also like music which sort of can create an atmosphere. So you look at guitarists who you can plug a guitar into an amplifier, and you can create a piece of music which makes space in a room, or you can play a piece of music which is exciting and makes you want to go on like go into battle. It's but for me, I learned a lot of melodic songs when Ed Sheeran first started, and I grew up with a lot of. There's an artist called James Taylor. He's an American artist. He's does a lot of finger picking, and sort of a mix of sort of country indie music. And I grew up listening to his stuff because my dad was a big fan of his music, and kind of I feel like you adopt the music you listen to. So that's the kind of music I like to start playing. And then obviously Ed Sheeran, like I said, became a big thing, and it's very simple chords, and you can sing a great song to it. So that's kind of the style I like the most, and it's easiest to play because, you know, if you can sing a song and make other people sing a song, it brings everyone together. So.
Well, if Ipswich get relegated, you might be able to meet up with him next season.
Well, yeah, that would be, I mean, the last time I played Ipswich, I got beat 6-0, so I might. I don't know if I want that one again, but yeah, if Ed Sheeran's there, it'd be nice to meet him. Yeah.
Now, of course, your sisters got into music as well,
yeah,
and they are in a band with your cousin. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot going on with that now. I mean, they basically, you know, as I said, we all sang together as kids and played instruments, and we were a very close family. So my cousin and my two sisters, they're all 3 girls. You know, they've got beautiful voices and like really nice harmonies. You know, and you can do harmonies with song. Creates a really nice sound, and one of them played the drums, one played the guitar, and one played the piano, and they're all good singers. So it kind of, we were like, well, why not make a band? And there was a little pub in Devon where I grew up, in a place called somewhere between Torquay and Exeter, and it was called the Church House Inn, and they used to go there and do gigs, and then one day, you know, someone was watching there who's a manager, and she was like, I really like your music. So they did this thing called Open Mic UK, which was Simon Cowell, like an event, pre-X Factor event, and they won that, and they got a lot of interest from that. And then they signed with a manager and started making their own music, signed with Sony, started creating their own music, and you know, it's something you can get paid to do, and they love doing it, so why not? And so yeah, they obviously all did that. You know, as they've got older, the cousin sort of felt like she needed to go another way, so she obviously left the band in a friendly way. And so my two sisters now have got a new band called Field Lily, which they're sort of going through together now, and they're hopefully going to build up to what they had with the previous band, Wildwood Kin, and start it again. So yeah, it's exciting times for them, and yeah.
And for anyone who's watching this,
yeah,
what tunes would you recommend?
Well, I mean, with the new stuff, they're writing a lot. So if they just type in Field Lily, it's the name. They've only got one song out at the moment. Writing loads of stuff, but with the older band, you know, just there's lots of tunes. I mean, you know, they write stuff to. So basically, in our family, we had the cousin in the band. You know, we had her brother. We were all really close to the family. He sadly, you know, committed suicide when he was sort of 24, 25, and so my sisters felt like they needed to write music to help people in the same situation. So they wanted to write music which was, you know, very comforting and gave hope to people, because I think that's what people need, is just a bit of hope sometimes, and an escape from maybe what they're going through. So in their songs there's a lot of messages about hope and ways out of what you're going through, that there's always something better on the other side. So that was a very strong reason as to why they wrote the songs, and if you listen to the songs, you know, you often get messages which will help people in those situations. So, you know, a lot of their songs are based upon that foundation of there's more to life than, you know, you can't, like, you in your life, there's so much more that you can find, and you know, they've got songs like Hold On, the name Hold On, you know, you need to hold on to what you've got, and even in one of the songs they've got, if someone knows Morse code, they've got Morse code in the songs to say like there's people out here to help you. So, you know, a lot of the stuff is, as I said, yeah, to give people a bit of life and show there's more to life than what you're going through right now. So there's always better on the other side. So it's a big thing for them, and, you know, very important for them.
Yeah, it's funny enough, I was doing an interview a couple of weeks ago with Will Volks at Oxford, and you know, both his grandfathers died by suicide, and we were looking at the figures. I think more people die in the UK through suicide, men under 50 and women under 35 than anything else. Yeah,
which, you know, it's a staggering fact that's, you know, we don't provide in society a way for these people to get help, and, you know, you have helplines and stuff, but sometimes it just takes you asking your mate how he is. I think, you know, in our culture it's very much straightforward, all about me, but we'd never really truly look beyond ourselves. So yeah, it's a crazy fact and something that, you know, the healthcare system needs to look at and try and change. And you know, if my sisters feel like they can help in that way, then you know, that's why they have that behind their music. Yeah.
Now I have to ask you, why did you never form a band with your sisters?
Well, like I said, me and my dad, we were the sporty one. Thankfully, I could have a bit of both, but I've always loved sport. You know, it's been a big key to my life. I didn't have sport, you know, I'd probably be struggling myself. So, yeah, I love music, and I did it for GCSE because I wanted to have a part of that in me. My mum always says, "Josh, you're wasting your talent on." I'm like, "Mum, I'm playing football. Like, give me a chance." But you know, I love sport, and I can support my sisters in that, and I'll always have music as something to just relax with and do. And maybe when I'm older and I'm retired, I might start my own little band or something. You know, I nearly had a band in school, but again, football sort of took over really. But it's always something I can pick up. And
of course, something else that's important in your life is your obviously Christian faith.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. I mean, obviously your family, you know, that's been ingrained by your family, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, from what I can remember, my nana, but before my nana, you know, it was obviously passed down. And my mum, obviously, when we were younger, she was very strong on, you know, taking us to church and getting us involved in the worship teams, and you know, so that's another way music sort of came in. And yeah, you know, it's been a sort of what's the word, a standing stone in our life. Of we've always had, you know, whether people view it as just a moral compass or a way of living or just something to give you, as I said, hope before. You know, it's always been there for me, and I've had a very sort of different upbringing, I think, to a lot of footballers and a lot of people, where in my family there's always been a lot of support for me in that sense. But it kind of came from my mum really, and you know, it's something like a foundation for me to live off, and hopefully I can, you know, for what it's given me, I can pass it on to future family if I'm, you know, God willing, be able to have children and things like that. So yeah.
In terms of your football journey, just tell us a little bit about that, how you got involved, because you also like rugby as well,
yes,
which is obviously natural from where you're from.
Yeah.
So just tell us about your upbringing, really, your sporting sort of heritage and how it evolved into football.
Yeah, well, I mean, my dad, again, loved sport. He played it up until... My dad is a strong asthmatic, and with asthma, he's like the top end of the spectrum, but his whole life, he pushed through that because he loved sport so much. And you know, sadly, he can't do as much sport now because he's getting a bit older, but you know, he was always the one that would bring a rugby ball in the car wherever we went, or bring a football in the car wherever we went. And we do all sorts together, playing sport when we were younger, so it kind of just something which I naturally had because my dad was a very good sportsman. He played rugby mainly. He played for Exeter before it was Exeter Chiefs, which are, you know, European champions now, and played a lot of rugby and played a lot of football. And that obviously stemmed from my great granddad, which I spoke about, called Miles Abraham. He was, you know, a very successful man in the sense of everything. You know, he had 14 children, big Irish family. Funny story about that, I moved school once, and I was friends in the gym with a lad who's the year above me, and his second name was Abraham, but I didn't think anything of it, and left school and realised about 5 years later that he was my cousin. So, you know, it's a funny thing when you have a big family like that. But yeah, so Miles Abraham was his name. You know, he was Irish rugby captain, Irish water polo champion, Irish heavyweight boxing champion, and then in the war, you know, I think he was awarded like a Victoria Cross, which is a very high medal. Do
you know what that was for?
It was for, no, I don't want to make it up, but it was, I think, for something, obviously.
Bravery, probably.
Bravery, yeah. And he had 14 kids, and, you know, I came down that family line, and my dad played rugby, and then I was they call the wuss of the family, because I chose football, but I loved rugby. I would have happily played, but yeah, football kind of just took hold and moved on to what it is now. So.
Could you ever imagine having 14 children? I mean, expensive Christmases, remembering everyone's birthdays.
I know, it's ridiculous. I don't know how they did it, if I'm honest, but yeah.
But of course, that's very typical of Irish families, isn't it?
It is.
And you're very proud of your Irish roots, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you sort of, I feel like knowing where you're from is a big part of knowing who you are, and my family have looked into it. I haven't looked into it as much, but yeah, big Irish family, you know, all sportsmen, all very healthy. I mean, my grandma, I think she's 96 now, and she's still going strong. a lot of them have lived to 100 and over. So
really,
yeah, I mean, I'm already getting grey hair, so I'm not sure about me. But yeah, no, they're it's a big Irish family, and I haven't met all of them. As I said, I met a cousin in school, but the Abraham name, it just sort of carries on. Hopefully, I can carry it on too.
If everyone's living over 100, maybe that means you can play for the Swans until you're over 50.
I'll be like Lee Trundle playing football till I'm 40. How old he is, but I played with him just then, and he looked amazing. So something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, Exeter. You owe a lot to Exeter, don't you? Because they really did bring you on, and of course, you had loan spells in non-league, didn't you? So you didn't just sort of cruise around in the football league. You actually have done the hard yards in non-league.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I listened to all the lads here where they went on loan, and they all went on loan to big football league clubs, and I've again, nothing against the club. It's teams like Tiverton Town and Bideford. It's sort of no one really expects that from someone who's playing Championship football. But it's some of the best footballing times of my life. I was with a manager called Martin Rogers at Tiverton, and he's a big player for Exeter. He got to the FA Cup quarter-final with them when they played, I think, Tottenham. And that's actually when I sort of became a right back. So that's kind of what converted me into what I am now, and I realised actually I can do quite well playing that position.
Because where were you playing before?
I was like a winger / striker / just an attacker, but if you watch my style of play, I'm very attacking fullback, so it goes into one. But I went non-league, and then came through the rest of the academy at Exeter and got my chance in the COVID year, and stayed in the team. And,
and you had success there, didn't you? Because of course you got promoted, didn't you, from League Two?
That's it. Yeah, I mean, it was funny because I remember saying to my mum and dad when I signed for Exeter, I was like, we've got a really good group of young players here in my team, and I was like, maybe one day we can all get Exeter promoted. And then, in my second year of playing, there was 8 academy products playing in the team, and we got the team promoted. So we sort of took that upon ourselves as a lot of pride, because we were all Exeter or Devonshire boys, taking your team to League One, which they hadn't done for sort of 10, 11 years. So it was an amazing time for me, and one that I'll sort of take with me my whole career, and hopefully I can do it again with someone else. So
I mean, the last time I was at Exeter, I don't think I got out there till midnight, because there was that mad game against Nottingham Forest. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I watched that on TV.
Did you watch that?
I did.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was a brilliant game, wasn't it? And nearly did it.
Yeah, it was incredible. Do you keep in touch with the boys down there? I mean, I love that club actually, and I think it's great. It's a fan-owned club as well.
It is. I mean, it's very similar to Swansea. It's very community-based. And one thing, it's good at is bringing through young players, and a lot of the team now have left. All my mates there have left to play for other teams, etc. But I think the captain, Pierce Sweeney, me and him have a chat every so often. He's an Irishman, and he was someone who was very helpful to me when I was there at my time. And I keep in touch with him from time to time. He's actually spoken to me about coming to watch his testimonial in the end of June. So that's one thing I'll hopefully be doing. But the club are great. I could message and call anyone there, and they'd have a chat with me and welcome me back. And the fan base are brilliant as well. Travel everywhere, and it's similar to Swansea again. It's sort of out of the way of everything. So to have such a good fan base is quite a rare thing from a team that far away. Yeah.
Now you're at Swansea. First of all, tell us how that move came about. I suppose not too far for you to go back to Exeter. It was a little way, but not as far as it could have been.
Yeah, well, if I had a boat, it would take me probably an hour, but it takes me about 3.5 hours.
You've got to get a boat.
I'd need to get a boat. There needs to be a ferry, and I can see my home, Well, I can't, but I can see North Devon. I'm from South Devon, obviously, but it started with, Russell Martin when he was here. He showed a lot of interest in me when I was at Exeter, and, it's difficult when you're a homegrown player at Exeter, because, they've nurtured you through, and they want to sell you for as much as they can, and it meant that if I wasn't performing at my best, which maybe I wasn't in my last season there, it meant that last few seasons there, it meant that it was a struggle for teams to want to buy a right back, because the market necessarily wasn't where Exeter valued me at. So it was difficult for me to move when Russell wanted me, but he wanted to sign me, and then my contract obviously ended with Exeter. And then Russell obviously left, and I signed it still. But I think the interest from the club was always there, and that's one thing which I valued a lot. And they took the I wouldn't say risk, but they took the leap of coming for me when they had to go through a tribunal. And so I was obviously very thankful to Swansea for doing that, and I felt like I needed to make the step from League One to the Championship, and it sort of took a long time to work out, but I made it here eventually, and I'm really happy to be here.
And how have you found it? I mean, this is your second season at Championship level. How did you find the jump initially from League One to Championship? Because I think that's a hell of a jump, actually. A lot of people don't realise how big the jump that is.
It's a really big jump. And League Two to League One isn't too much, but League One to Championship, you're playing against people who've been at top academies or been playing the league for 10, 15 years, and the physicality and the level of sort of competition in each game is just a big step up, and you take a lot of responsibility on yourself as a player, and have to, because, as I said, there's so much more to play for in terms of wages, money, ways the club run. If you don't perform well, then it could mean a club going bust. And that's not what you want for your club. So a big step up, and I think the first 6 months, I'm an athletic player, so I was able to cope with the demands that way, but I almost feel like it's taken a whole year and a bit for me to actually get used to the level of competition, and mentally I think halfway through this season I think was the most I've struggled in my whole career, and I feel like I'm only just coming out of the end of that now, and mentally the drain and the constant games and the sort of having to try and perform your best every week, I really struggled with trying to maintain that, and I feel like as summer's coming, I'm coming out of it, but I feel like this season's been frustrating because we've so nearly been there, but we haven't, and now we're at the other end of the spectrum where we don't want to be in sort of a relegation battle. So I mean, we're not quite in a relegation battle, but it's been up and down as everything.
Because it felt like earlier in the season, you weren't far away, were you? It looked like actually, if you just get a little run going, like a lot of teams in this division, you could be in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think the whole team felt like that. We were all saying, well, we could be in the playoffs at the end of the season, and 7 games left, and we are where we are. But it's been really tough, I think, on the whole team. And I think, we feel like responsible for what happened with Luke, the manager. We were trying to play a style of football which the club want to see and we want to see as players, and we were losing games from lots of mistakes, and I feel like mentally the team have just been very sort of mentally, sort of in a lot of strain mentally, under a lot of stress mentally, and so it's led to what it is now. But I feel like it's been another fresh start with Alan coming in, and we all know Alan well, and all the lads respect him well, so I think we can finish the season strong. So.
I've actually watched you a few times this season, and a couple of outstanding games against Leeds. I know you lost the one at home against Leeds, but that was a cracking match, really. Unlucky to lose, really. Weren't you right at the death end and got on to it? And I thought you'd done it again to you at Ellen Road.
I know.
But just tell us about, that was a great game at the weekend as well. Obviously letting that goal in after, 35 seconds. Yeah. But after that, you played well. And actually, I think the draw was the least you deserved.
Yeah, I think, again, like you said, we were losing those games that we were playing really well in against teams like Leeds, Sunderland in the past. But I think, the weekend, it showed that, we should have a strong defensive record this year. But again, it's just been conceding those extra goals in the last minutes of the game. And like you said, when they scored the first, I think we all thought, oh no, this could be 5 or 6 here. But I think we matched Leeds physically, and, they couldn't deal with, how we counter-attacked them, how we transitioned on them. And I think that's one thing that Alan's been really sort of getting into us of transitional football is, we've got players in the team who can run and attack teams fast, and I don't think Leeds expected that, and they couldn't live with that. And like you said, I think a lot of people would agree that we could have gone on and won that as well.
And in terms of yourself, ambitions going forward, as you say, you feel like you're coming at the end of what's been a tough period for you.
Yeah.
And so it's a case now of just kicking on and trying to make that leap, that extra leap to perhaps be around the playoffs next season.
Yeah, I think it has to be the club's ambition, and any player that comes here has to have that ambition of making Swansea a Premier League club again. And that easy to say, we'll get automatic playoffs, but I think one thing is you can't be naive as a footballer, and if that means playoffs, then that means playoffs. And I think we were nearly there this year, and it ended up what it is now. But I think if we can recruit right as a club and bring in players which want to do well and want to buy into the ambition, I think that's the most important thing. And bringing in characters who are going to drive and sharpen each other. really buy into what the club want to do. I think that's the most important thing. And who knows what could happen. We can finish the season strong and hopefully take that into next season.
And just finally, you've recently made a good career move, no pun intended. Actually, it was. You've been learning Korean, haven't you?
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't say, it's just, so basically we signed Ji-sung Yom this year, he's a brilliant Korean footballer, and I went out to Korea a few years ago because one of my mates was out there coaching, and it's an amazing country, an amazing culture. It's very different, and I like experiencing those things. So I picked up a bit of Korean out there, and then when we signed Ji-sung Yom, I sort of thought, it's a good opportunity to try and practice and learn something, because I think one thing is important to me is to learn a language one day. So I've been picking up a lot, and they brought in the translator, Jim, who's from Swansea, and he's been teaching me bits of Korean and stuff. So it's a bit random. I think people wouldn't expect it, but it's something that for me, which I find interesting and exciting.
Do you know any other languages? Do you speak any other languages?
No, I don't. I mean,
No.
I'd love to. I'm one of those people. I know random things from different languages, and
What can you say in Korean?
I can say a few things. Like if I was to say, my name is Joshua Key, I'd say 내 이름은 Ki입니다, and that means my name is Josh or my name is Key. And loads of random things like chuku means football, for example, or like if I was to say I'm hungry, I'd know how to say that, or things like that. It's just random things which sometimes I'll just say to Ji-sung to make him laugh, because I think with him, he's so far away from home. It's just, you've got to make some people feel at home sometimes. So I try to just do my part in that,
What did you think of South Korea when you went there? I mean, we were talking about North Korea. I mean,
Yes.
there's a great documentary on YouTube I've been watching. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. I know you've been watching it as well.
Yeah, so interesting.
But obviously difficult to get over there. But South Korea, what was that like?
It's a culture shock. I think Western to Eastern world is complete different. I think it showed me like how different a culture can be and how much you can learn from that. And you won't see a bit of rubbish anywhere there. And the way they're taught to treat like people who are older than them. You have to show so much respect to people who are older or people in higher positions. Whereas I feel like in our culture, it's like, I've obviously been there as a kid. When you see older people, you maybe sometimes look down on them as, because of the immaturity of things. But when you're there, you see a kid walking around and they'll bow to you and say hello, and it's very interesting. And there's a lot of technology there which we get from that side of the world. So it was amazing to see their modes of transport, and the food that they eat is just completely different. And they look very healthy, so they must be doing something right out there that maybe this side of the world we need to adopt. I don't know. But beautiful country. You've got cities and then jungle, and it's like you're driving through jungle and then you're in a city and then you're back in a jungle area. It's very different, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, one of the things about Swansea, obviously being in Wales, I think the Welsh people are lovely as well.
Do you know what? Yeah, I think that too. It's probably the most friendly people. I haven't met I've never seen someone in Swansea who's like had a go at me or like sworn at me or like, I don't know how to describe it, but anyone you meet here, they just treat you with a smile. And everyone here is just so lovely. I can't believe it. I would say I haven't met a Welsh person I don't like yet.